All right.
What's up, guys?
We are here, episode 200.
So I'm posting this one more time in case you guys want to join us. We're live. You can click that little button there, and you can join us for the YouTube Live and win some free prizes towards the end. All right, I'll get this guy posted, guys. So welcome to the podcast. Happy you guys are here. And done. All right, cool. So we're going to run the podcast. And, guys, what we're going to do is Eugene and I have a couple things prepared, and then afterwards we will dive into some Q&A with you guys. And the way that we're going to do the gifts is very simple. We'll have you guys ask some questions, and when you guys ask those questions, the ones that we choose, we will give you guys some gifts. As far as the gifts, the stuff that we're going to be giving away today, we've got some recovery. We got a recovery pack from Charlotte's Web, so some different assorted products with them. We've got a Manscaped trimmer that's going to be the lawnmower 4.0 flashlight. Trimmer. Excuse me.
That's right.
Our sponsor Epic Roll has donated a rash guard and shirt, so you'll get that. And then we'll also be giving away I've got a little book that I wrote, and it's also I'm gonna give you guys a t-shirt with it. So you'll get a book and a t-shirt from me, and I'll also be giving away a couple of courses to people that are here. So we have some stuff to give away.
I'll give away something too. I got a couple courses too I'll give away.
Eugene will give some stuff away too. He's giving away his body.
Yes.
So
you want some? Yeah. I'm all right. I've been working out. So, guys, yeah, thank you guys for joining us. Episode 200, it's crazy. So we're counting, down the day, like how many months we've been at it. We started in August of like 19 or 18 or.
Has anybody been with us that long? Like, have any of you guys been with us back when we were sitting at Grandma's? Actually, before that.
No. Not Grandma's table.
We used to be on your.
It was the massage table. We had one Blue Yeti mic.
Yep.
And we were like on Wi-Fi, and it was horrible. I watched it before. I was like, "Ooh, that was a rough go at it."
So yeah, we have decided, guys, arbitrarily that 200 is more important than 199, and so today, because round numbers and such,
200 is like a thing.
I know it's a number.
It is. It is a number.
It's a number.
What's in a number, Chewy? Yeah, but it's just like a nice, even, clean number, right?
Sure, but 199 is a good number. Like 199 is like real common, used for prices and stuff.
Why do you have to make it difficult?
I don't know. I just like messing around with the absurdity of things.
It is, right? It is. It's kind of
like
thinking about
200, right? It's like, well, why not like 199 is a lot. Like 200, like not that big. What do you say?
Yeah, it's that. I guess
it's all about the giving.
Mad dog. Yeah, guys. I want to.
Guys,
share love.
So let's do this real quick. Let us know. I'm going to go through and do our normal stuff that we do for our sponsors to thank them for helping us make the podcast possible. And while we do that, let us know where you guys are from. And kind of chime in and let us know what part of the country or the world you guys are coming from. And then let's dive into it. So first off, thanks to our sponsor, Charlotte's Web. They're one of the main sponsors of the podcast. Again, I love their stuff, and I encourage you guys to try them out. If you guys have never tried CBD out before, I know a lot of times people talk about it, and it sounds like snake oil because it's like, it has all these benefits and stuff that people talk about, and especially people like me who are sponsored by them. I get it, but I also use their product, and I like it, and I think it's a great product. I was using CBD before Charlotte's Web became a sponsor. I really like this stuff. And so, again, I encourage you guys to try it out. Try it out for a month if you can and see the effect that it has on your body. Everybody's a little bit different with it, and they can find different uses. Some people it helps them focus. Some people they find, like me, it helps me with like my recovery, and so I can train and dealing with aches and pains and stuff from training. So get a tincture, get a set of gummies, whatever it is that you like. I prefer the tinctures personally, and then give it a whirl and see how that helps you out. Also, thanks to our sponsor, Epic Roll. Epic Roll, BJJ.com is what. Wait, forgot to go back. With Charlotte's Web, if you guys want to check out some of their stuff, you go to the website, charlottesweb.com. Promo code is Chewjitsu20 for 20% off the order. Now on to Epic Roll. And Epic Roll, again, is a jiu-jitsu gear and apparel company. So pretty much anything that you need related to gis, rash guards, shorts, t-shirts, joggers, fanny packs. They've just got a wide assortment of stuff. and I really like the designs and all of its high quality, and that's why I partnered up with Matt recently to do a set of rash guards and shorts for me. Love them.
Badass.
I think they came out great. All the students love them. Yeah. Everybody that's getting them around the world love them. And so again, if you guys want to check out some of his stuff, you can go to his website at epicrollbjj.com. The promo code is Chewjitsu. You save 15% off the order. And again, if you've ever seen me wear a t-shirt in one of my videos that's not a Chewjitsu shirt, it's probably his. And then also thanks to our sponsor, Manscaped. Let's go, Eugene. Get that little button press. There we go. Manscaped. So Manscaped is the premier, below the men's belt. Below the men's belt.
There you go.
Below the belt men's grooming products.
This is live.
I'm destroying these.
We love
these
it.
reads. Yeah. So again, they make great products. Again, I've tried a ton of their stuff. I like all of it. I think everything's high quality that they've made so far. And I use a trimmer. People are like, "Hey, Chewy, how do you trim your beard?" I trim it with this thing. I trim it with the lawnmower. I like that it's cordless. It's waterproof, so you can use it wherever you need to use it. And it's got a little light that originally I thought was funny and silly. But then as a male, when you're down trimming through things, it helps you identify the hairs without cutting stuff that you don't want to cut. So again, check it out. If you guys want to get any men's grooming products for yourself or another man in your life, check them out at manscaped.com. The promo code is Chewjitsu20 for 20% off the order, and you get free shipping. It's a pretty good deal.
Also, real quick, we'll just say briefly, thanks to our newest sponsor, Acorns, acorns.com/Chewjitsu. And if you have some investment kind of things you want to do, you can check that out. We'll just kind of leave it at that.
Okay. And then also, guys, if you want to support the podcast directly, you can check out our Patreon, patreon.com/The Jiu-Jitsu Podcast. And last but not least, guys, if you want to join up for my email list, which is, again, kind of my little corner of the internet. I send an email Monday through Friday. If you enjoy my little rants and philosophical talks, then you would probably enjoy the email. I'll give you 3 free ebooks for joining up, and you can unsubscribe at any time, jujitsu.net/join, JOIN, and that's it. So, have a little sip of bourbon here.
Cheers. We can do that. Boom.
Cheers. Not $1.99, $200.
200. Found a little Buffalo Trace for our... It's tasty.
It's so funny, man. But it's so funny how bourbon's become this thing. It was not a thing like a long time ago. It was just normal.
It wasn't a thing for me either. I wasn't crazy about it.
Well, and then now it's like this thing where people like drink bourbon and they're being bougie or something. It's like, I'm sophisticated. I'm a sophisticated drunk. I drink bourbon. Yes. But no, it's crazy. I like some of the bourbon that I have. Like, you've given me some stuff and I've accumulated some stuff and I like it. Yeah. But like, bro, I went over to one of our buddies' houses. And he gave me a drink of this bottle, or gave me a little drink of it, and he told me how much the bottle was worth. The bottle was worth like over $1,000 or something. This is stupid. What? I was like, what? Like, here, let me get this back to you. Let me spit this back up for you. I was like, this is ridiculous. $1,000 for this bottle. I was like, I couldn't tell the difference between that and some of the other stuff. I'm like, some of that $50 bourbon that I have, like, I think beats it.
Yeah, a $30 bourbon.
You know, it was interesting. So a long time ago, when one of my exes, her sister was dating this guy who was like some big shot lawyer down in like Lexington. Yeah. And I mean, just this guy was obviously really, really, really wealthy. There's other things. I could tell you all kinds of crazy stuff, from the robots that he had in his house to he had his house on, like, this is 2011. He had his house hooked up to an iPad where he could turn stuff on and off. Yeah. And he could have it water his plants, all kinds of crazy stuff. Anyway, so we're sitting at dinner and he puts these 2 decanters of wine out. Okay. And we're all like drinking this wine, whatever. And we crushed this one decanter over and over. We were like, he had to pour us another bottle. And then at the end of it, he was like, yes. He goes, that is like the one that we didn't, we all drank a little bit of it, but we didn't like it. That was like some like $600 bottle of French wine or something. He was like, and then that one is like a $20 bottle of like wine from like Argentina or something.
It's so arbitrary. Who decides it? It's like,
it's things that was bourbon. You know, it's just like supply and demand. People get like wrapped up. It's just, it goes back to that human quality. It's like NFTs, right? It's like, I have it, you don't. I mean, because when you look at a lot of the NFT stuff, I mean, I've never seen any of that. It was like, that looks so amazing. That's like a Mona Lisa. That's like an amazing image. It's like, it looks like crappy art.
Yeah, digital art, right?
But I have it, and you don't. You know, I think the technology is really cool behind it. I just think like right now it's just kind of this. You see all these like celebrities doing like pump and dumps where they'll like they're like, yeah, this is going to be the next big thing. And then they like take all the money out of it. And they're like, oh, we just made $1 million and you guys have nothing. Bye-bye.
Yeah. We're going to have to go back and read some of these comments. They're pretty funny.
All right.
Some people are making fun of episode 199, and there's a little daylight savings action. They're talking about that. So keep them going. We'll go back through these kind of once we get to the Q&A, we'll start looking through some stuff. And the way we're going to give away the prizes is we're going to choose some really good questions. So if there's a question, if we choose one of your questions to answer, we're going to give you something. Okay. Not everybody, but like, some people.
Cool.
Whatever we decide the best questions.
All right. So are we going to read the comments first, or am I going to do the
No, let's get into it. And then we'll go to the comments later.
So yeah, guys. So a lot of you guys kind of follow me, and you're a lot of times curious about what I'm reading. So one of the so I'll share that in a second. But I'll get you to think about an idea. So we're going to kind of like go into kind of story time mode a little bit, and then we'll jump into the stuff. But so I remember when I was like 7 years old, or actually not 7 years old. I was closer. I think I was actually about 5 or 6. So 5 or 6 years old, I remember being out with my grandfather. So I used to live with my grandfather, and I remember being in a store with him. And we were out at this store, and I remember seeing this box of G.I. Joes. You remember G.I. Joes?
Oh, yeah.
Like they had the little, like you press the button and stuff would fly out and whatever else. And I remember I pleaded with him. As much as like my passion, like as much passion as I could put forth with my little heart, right? Just give me this box of toys. I'll never want anything else. I remember I'll never want anything
That's always
else.
the thing, yeah.
I'll never want anything else. And, he grinned a little bit, and afterwards was like, okay, he knew better, but he's like, okay. So he gives me this box of G.I. Joes, and he makes a deal with me. It's like, okay, now when you get home, you got to go work out in the yard for the rest of the day. Like, you got to do some work. Like, fair enough. So he put my little ass to work. So we get done working at the end of the day, sun's going down. I get to go inside, and I get to open this box of toys. And I'm so excited. And it's magic. It's like magical. I'm opening this thing. I was like, oh my God, this is so amazing. And for like a day or two, it was magic. And then afterwards, it started to wear off, and then I saw like that there was other stuff, other G.I. Joe things that I didn't have. Like there was like a big ship, and there was a helicopter, and I wanted one of those things. And so again, the magic wore off. Now, I share this idea with you guys not because I want to talk about G.I. Joes or anything, but this is like the earliest memory that I can think of that sort of insatiable quality of human nature, right? Simply put, enough is never enough. And we're all like that, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm sure all of us kind of relate to this enough is never enough because, you think about it, like you might work your tail off to buy a thing, get a promotion, work up to something, whatever it might be. And then once you get it, there's a little bit of magic, or maybe you were expecting some sort of magic that simply isn't there. And if it is there, it leaves pretty quickly, and then you're on to the next thing. And this is an idea that Albert Camus talks about in one of his philosophical essays. So that's what I've been reading recently. I just read through it. I reread it because I read it when I was younger, and it, for whatever reason, just didn't click with me. And then I reread it recently, like just within the last week, and it's like kind of connected with me a little bit differently. Maybe I'm just a bit older or something. Mm-hmm. But the philosophical essay is The Myth of Sisyphus. And if you guys are familiar with it, basically it was based off of a Greek story. So the Greek story of Sisyphus is basically there was a deceptive and avarice king, Sisyphus, who was punished by the gods to push this boulder up a mountain, and then it would always fall back down. And then he'd have to push it back up, and it would fall back down for eternity. And, it's kind of this meaninglessness, this meaningless thing to do, just pushing this boulder up and down, up and down. And so Camus sort of draws out these different parallels that are analogous to life. And I think it's an interesting one. Now, he pulls out a lot of different stuff, but there was one that I think is really interesting, which is when you're in sort of pursuit of new heights within your life, right? Because we push ourselves to new heights in like skill, money, everything, right? And we're searching for some sort of security or some sort of happiness. We're seeking that, right? And then once we get to the top, or once we get what we were seeking, it's almost like we're back at the bottom, right? So for instance, a lot of people, I feel like blue belt blues, right? That's the thing, right? So you chase this belt thinking this is gonna be something special. You get it, you're still the same person, but now you're at the bottom. You can even think about like being a black belt. You work your way up to the black belt, right? You get your black belt, and then what happens? It's like starting over again. People even say that it's like starting over again. And so I think this is an interesting idea. So basically, you could kind of take this, and it seems negative, right? Oh, like you're just going to keep spinning the wheels here. But his idea is that you have to imagine Sisyphus as being happy. He somehow finds meaning out of pushing the boulder up and down, right? And so I think for all of us, you can call it loving the process or whatever, you know, but it's that thing. It's like, you don't chase the belts, you chase the techniques, you chase the skill, you chase the thing that you're doing on a day-to-day basis. You find a love for the process. You find a meaning to all that stuff rather than trying to look to the goal as if the goal is going to be some big thing, because just like a 200th episode, right? If we had set some big goal, like, oh man, if we made 200 episodes, that'd be something, right? Yeah, it's a number.
Right.
But it's everything that happened along the way that was worthwhile.
Right.
And so that's the idea. So that was one of the things from it. If you guys have never read it before, I think it's an interesting read. The language is interesting because they'll talk about this idea of everything being absurd. But the Myth of Sisyphus, and again, it's just an interesting idea. But I think that idea of going up and down is analogous to all of our pursuits, because every time Jordan Peterson talked about this too. We're all chasing after something, and once we get it, we always want more. We're always up to a new thing that we're chasing after everything else.
I think, and this might not be something that you took from it, but the ritual of it, for jiu-jitsu, there's a ritualistic thing. We get, maybe we bow to get on the mats, or we do a certain warm up, or there's a ritual kind of involved there that, like, I think for some of us gives us some calm, I don't know, makes things kind of feel right in the world almost. Like we have a little bit of some kind of sequence to things. And so I love some of the ritual of jiu-jitsu, just kind of showing up, training. I know I can expect a certain feeling after training, a certain connection to my training partners. And I think that's one of the appeals. And I think you had posted something, and I agree with it 100%. You talked about, like, we start jiu-jitsu for these random reasons, but we stick around and we keep at it because of the relationships and the people and the environment and the community. And I think that's, like, you have to find more than the belt, right? You have to find something meaningful and enjoyable in the process.
Right. 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, because people come in for belts and,
they come
arm bars and skills and fighting and everything else. And then they end up developing a connection. Yeah, I wrote that because I get a lot of questions from people who want to, like, know if they can train by themselves. And I'm like, no, you can't. And even if you could, though, it's like you wouldn't want to, because you wouldn't stick with it. Because what people don't understand is such a big draw is, like, coming in with your team and being in a room with them, like, people that you care about. I mean, it's very much a social thing. It's like it's a singular activity, yes, because you're self-contained, but it's very much a group thing. It's very much a communal thing. And I think for me, it was one of the things that, like, during, like, I mean, we were a bunch of dirty mongrels, and so during, like, during the lockdowns of 2020, besides about 2 months, I mean, we were training, like a lot of jiu-jitsu gyms were. And while the rest of the world was, like, angry at each other, like, we were all kind of coming in together and very different from one another and different views and everything else. We're training together, having a good time.
Yeah, it was kind of the start of the 6 a.m. classes for us. That was kind of, Jeff and I, who's one of the black belts, kind of was one of the original people in the 6 a.m. class. Now it's like a 4-day-a-week thing, and we've got we get decent numbers, and it's a lot of fun, and we have a whole, like, different crew now. There's a whole different feel to, and it's something that we started doing as a result of the pandemic. But now it's like a little ritual in the mornings for a lot of us. It's how we start our day, and yeah, I mean, yeah, we all kind of, it's some sort of, like, jiu-jitsu for a lot of us, I think, is like some sort of, in a way, it's very chaotic, but it's also something kind of that you expect, something that's kind of normal in your routine. You're going to go train, you're going to see your buddies, and you're going to work really hard, and you're going to have a good time. And whatever is happening in the world, we can still kind of have that. We have our little bubble that we kind of still continue in, and we kind of just have some, I don't want to say normalcy, but we have just some ritual there that's been there, and it's going to be there, because of the people. Yeah, that's good. That's good stuff. That's a meaningful thing. I think finding, what. Let me ask you this then. This is kind of going on a different little. What is, like, doing the podcast? Like, how has that been, like? We never had a number. We never had something to, like. What's that been like for you? Like, is that something ritualistic for you now? Like, it's because we've been doing it for, like, 4 years. Is that something that has impacted you in any way? Do you feel like?
Probably.
Yeah.
I mean, if I sat down and thought about it.
Yeah, think about it. Yeah.
But, like, but see, you've already been around me, because, I mean, I do my thing. Like, I just want to do it. Like, it's like I'm not too, which is sometimes a fault, because sometimes sometimes I have to be careful about this, because I can do something just because I like doing it, and I need to sometimes set goals for myself, because I forget. Like I'm just doing stuff.
What's the point of this thing, right?
Well, it's not even what's the point of it. It's like, well, it's like, you know, for instance, other people that are involved might want it to do certain things. And I'm like, oh, it's like, I need to like step my game up because I'm just doing this because I'm having fun. Right. So
you have to though, right? You have to have fun with it first.
Yeah.
It's gotta be something you enjoy.
This is true. But at the same, but again, it just, everybody has their own balance. I just find that I do things that I enjoy doing, and then I find a way to make them sort of work. But as far as like how it's changed, of course, I'm sure it's given me ideas and it's changed me in some ways. And I think the coolest part about doing it has been just being able to, essentially you get like a freebie to like talk to interesting people. Yeah. You can be like, hey, I want to talk to you like on a podcast. It's like, you couldn't go up to that person and say, hey, I want to talk to you for 2 hours or an hour. They're like, no, I don't want to talk to you, or whatever, or they're just not going to do it. But like, hey, I've got a podcast. Can I talk to you for 2 hours? And like, sure, I'll talk to you for 2 hours. And so that's been kind of cool because you get a lot of different perspectives on stuff, and it's opened up some cool doors for us. I mean, like we went and rolled, or we went and trained with like a famous, like we can't say his name yet because he's still on tour, but we trained with a famous like rock musician, right? Yeah, famous lead singer, and we were like, that was kind of cool, and it happened because of the podcast. Yeah, it was.
And we've talked to some like interesting people, like historians, or even people that. Like Robert Drysdale, who's made us think about the origins of jiu-jitsu so much more, because he wrote a book. So we had to go back and like do our own research and really dive in and just kind of what belts mean and what they don't mean and what jiu-jitsu means and what it doesn't mean.
When I remember like posting this stuff, people got so angry at me.
About what?
About like when we were like having Robert on, because like, you're kind of dispelling some of the old myths.
Yeah, and I think those myths are important. You got to have this myth that's larger than life figures. I think it attracts you to jiu-jitsu in some ways.
Well, I think people become attached to them. Well, I think people become attached to like these figures, these people. Yeah. And then when they find out like that they're just human, like them, then it's like it kind of pops a bubble for them.
But it also makes it more attainable. Jiu-jitsu is one of the most attainable things. Like you can go in a tournament and go against somebody like, if it's like an IBJJF, you could be in the black belt division against, one of the top guys in the sport.
Well, sure. It's like one of my students and I, Donald, in the morning, we were talking yesterday, and we were talking about like how a lot of times there's, big figures in history are portrayed as these larger than life, do no wrong. They're not like us kind of thing. But then when you read about them, they're like, oh, they're very much like us. Like we were talking about Martin Luther King, and I've read one of his biographies, right? And when you read about him, it's like, oh, like he had trouble sleeping around, and he also was like, he was super depressed at certain times of his life, right, when he was younger. So it's like human being, right? I don't take anything away from him, right? Like it's like, because nobody's perfect. And to act as, to imagine that someone's perfect is like, it's a silly thing to do because we're all broken. We're all flawed. Yeah. But a lot of times you don't ever see that side of them. You don't see those sides of people. You just see this, whatever has been pushed towards you. Right. And in like, today's world where people portray, put their social media stuff out there, you see this particular side that they allow you to see, but you don't necessarily see who they really are. But we're all just human.
Yeah, a cool thing is one of our recent episodes with Daniele Bolelli. He's talking about Bruce Lee, right? Yeah. And he's like, Bruce Lee kind of had this end to his life. He was like very overworked, and he was kind of a little bit, unhappy, it appeared. And I never thought that. You think of Bruce Lee, it's like this larger than life figure that's like, how long has he been gone? 60 years or 50 years? Like and he's been, just one of these incredible like inspirations in martial arts for so many people. And it's just interesting to see that these people are all human. They're all flawed. And I think that's what made them, the fact that they're able to achieve or kind of ascend to this height with these flaws is just, I think it's even better.
Well, in the Bruce Lee thing's interesting because, like you said, Bolelli was talking about how Bruce Lee was basically overworked and he was miserable, but he couldn't say no to things. Yeah. And I think that's an interesting idea because, so that was one of the ideas I've kind of been like sort of sitting on me for whatever reason with some of the different books that I've read is when you think about like each one of us has a warrior side of us, right? Each one of us has a warrior in us. And you have to know when to turn it off, right? Like, in the warrior side doesn't mean just fighting. It means like your aggressive side to like pursuing things, right? So like Bruce Lee's warrior could not turn off. He was yes to everything, right? And it's interesting because I was reading because I went on a big Stephen Pressfield kick. I read one of his books and I loved it. I'd never read any other book other than War of Art. I read Gates of Fire, loved it, and so I've read like 3 or 4 of his books now.
And they're like historical fiction.
It's historical fiction, yeah. And so he did one on Alexander the Great. And so Alexander the Great, he portrays him as basically this guy who can't turn his warrior off. And so basically he creates this world in which he cannot be a part of. So like he literally reshapes the world. Granted, the real Alexander was a bit of a butcher, right? Like most historical figures of his day were. But anyway, he created this world that he couldn't be a part of because he was always pursuing another conquest, right? And then you look at like, you can even think about superheroes. Look at like, say, the Batman movies and stuff of recent times, like not the one recently, but like with the Christopher Nolan Batman movies and stuff.
Dark Knight.
Yeah, you see those, and it's like you have this character, even Superman, you have this hero who cannot be a part of the world that he's protected, the world that he's created. He can't be a part of it. So he protects it, he creates it, but he can't be a part of it, right? And so you think about a lot of us are like that, where it's like, you don't spend enough time with your family, you don't do enough with your kids, you don't take enough time to just say, hey, you know what, I'm going to do nothing today and relax. Because it's like, I've got to do more. I've got to go more progress, more this, more that, more, that insatiable lust for, I have to do more. It's never is enough, right? And there's this idea that Stephen Pressfield talks about in one of his books, the Warrior Ethos. Basically, it's like the warrior coming home. Like sometimes you have to be able to say, like, I'm done. Like, let me go over here and just let me come home for a little while. And I think all of us have to find that balance, right? Because you can get lost in the pursuit, and then in the end, you're like, well, what am I doing? I don't even get to enjoy any of this.
Right.
And so I think that was an interesting idea that kind of popped through some of the different books I've got.
Yeah. I think that balance is always such a, because we love doing something or we enjoy something, we're going to work hard at it. We want to be better at it, and it's hard to it's kind of to shut it off, because if we're interested, it's hard to kind of get your mind off. Like if you're start jujitsu, people talk about being obsessed with jujitsu, and like you just, it's all you think about. It's all you do is you train, and then everything else kind of sometimes falls. Things can fall apart a little bit, but you have to find that balance, that your life outside of training and inside training.
Well, and I don't want to say balance. I hate balance. Like, so I know what you mean by balance, but I like to say, like, because when we say balance, then it's almost like people get this certain level of guilt associated with like balance. Like they think they always have to be balanced. Balance is like, it's arbitrary, because like, let's say, for instance, if you are pursuing something and it needs to be pursued, you're pursuing a big goal, then you have to be imbalanced. But let's say you're done with that and you're like, you know what? Deep in your heart, you want to spend time with your family. Then go imbalanced towards your family, right? Like allow things to shift rather than saying I have to maintain this harmonious balance, because it doesn't exist. But it's like this constant like undulation, moving from like I'm going more this way and then coming back and then moving this way, and then that sort of thing. Especially if you're someone that either is a business owner or if you've got a lot of different irons in the fire, so to speak.
Yeah, but I think that's part of what brings you back.
Sure,
is feeling that asymmetry, feeling that kind of imbalance, I guess, or the like unequalness of it. And obviously your life's never going to be equal. It comes, you have seasons and phases to your life where you're going to be, more heavy into jiu-jitsu, and then you're going to have a family, and you're going to be back off of jiu-jitsu. So it's just, but that's in the long scheme, in the long game of it, it's actually kind of evens out, I think.
It does. It's very much like, so if you've ever been on a sailing ship, right? Like an actual boat with a sail, a lot of times what ends up happening, I remember, and I don't know how they all work, but this is how it was in the ship that we were on up in Maine. I remember we were on this like this little boat ship, and we had to keep constantly catching the wind.
Correct. Yeah.
And so you would bring the sail this way, you would catch it for a little bit, and then you'd have to kick it to the side, then sail this way. Well, what ends up happening is you make almost like this little zigzag back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. But if you were to sort of draw back, like on some big, like let's say if you were to draw a line and you just sort of pulled way back, right, it would look straight. It's almost like in your GPS. If you put in a direction from one place to the other, there's all these little turns and whatever else. But then if you zoom out on your phone or your thing, it'll just look like a straight line, right? And I think it's a lot of times what happens when we're in it. We're going through these twists and turns, and we're going back, and we have a detour, and we got to go back around, and we lose a couple miles or something. But in the long run, it ends up just being kind of straight.
Yep.
And I think that's a lot of times what happens.
Yeah. All right. It's good. We always go on a little ramp. That's a ramp. Rant.
It's a ramp.
So, yeah, let's do some questions. Let's do it. You guys have been here. Thank you for hanging out with us. Let's do some questions. Chew, you've got ways. Somebody said they've been here with us from the massage table days, and somebody said they've been they've been following the podcast since you had 2,000 subscribers. When was that?
Well, not 2,000. I mean, we haven't.
No, you had 2,000 on your channel.
Oh, okay, cool. So check us out, guys, real quick. When we do these, couple stipulations for it. Obviously, you'll need to be a subscriber of the channel, because if you're not a subscriber of the channel, you can't actually speak in this. 2, basically, when we do this, we'll have to have a way to communicate with you, because obviously I can't take your information here. So you have 2 ways to contact us. You'll either need to follow us on Instagram, follow the Chewjitsu Podcast on Instagram. So that'll be your first way. And then your second way, you can get the email from me, and you can do that by going to chewjitsu.net/join, and you get the email address, and you can just reply back. So like when we say like, hey, send us your address or send us your information, either send it to Eugene over at the Chewjitsu Podcast on Instagram. You can do it that way, or you can send me an email. And if you're an email subscriber, then I'll get back to you. But if you're not an email subscriber or not a one or the other, it doesn't have to be necessarily be both, because I know not everybody has Instagram. If it's not one or the other, then then we won't give you your gifts. But if you got everything, you're good.
All right. So send us some questions. We'll pick a couple really good ones. Oh my God, there's some funny stuff. There's a lot of people we've got some people from Texas here, Atlanta, North Carolina. We got somebody from Shanghai, China. That's pretty awesome.
They got through did they have to get through the Great Firewall?
I don't know. Yeah, Texas, man. Florida, Chicago, everybody from everywhere, man. You're global, Chewy. Let's see. You got anything, Chew?
All right, let me see here.
Amsterdam, currently in the south of France. Awesome.
Well,
that's pretty cool.
We got one from Keegan Richards. He threw out $4.99, so we're gonna go to him
where's
first.
Where's he at? All right,
appreciate the blessing, brother.
Let me go to that. All right, let me see where he's at.
All right, so hey, Chewy, any suggestions for neck health against guys who neck crank? Neck is sore for a couple of days of training. So I'll tell you what I do. All right. So you ready?
I'm trying to find Keegan.
Tap out. I'm just messing with you. So check this out. So whenever I get someone in the gym, so it depends on the neck crank. I don't know how long you've been training, Keegan. You can throw that in there. With neck cranks are one of those things where I can fight it out if I want to, right? I can eat it and I can fight through it. But like you said, then your neck's jacked up for like days, right? Where you're walking around and like if someone says your name, you have to turn your entire body towards them because you can't actually move your neck around and articulate it. So I know exactly what you're talking about. So what I tend to do is I will simply tap very quickly to neck cranks. If I know I'm stuck in one, I just tap because I don't care. I'm not going to tell them, yeah, it's a neck crank. If I was rolling like for a competition, I wouldn't submit. I don't say anything about it. I just tap out. But what I do next is I make sure that I'm very mindful of my neck so I don't get put into it. Here's a great example. I was down at a training session with a friend at his gym and was training with a bunch of different guys, and there were some other people from other gyms there. And I ended up rolling with this guy, and this guy told me that he was hurt. He said, yeah, man, my rib's a little jacked up, so I'm kind of taking it easy today. I was like, yeah, cool, no problem, man. I'll take it easy with you. So I was literally kind of moving with him, just kind of taking it easy. He puts me in some kind of weird neck crank, and just rips it real quick. And I tap out real fast. I'm like, oh, crap, because I don't want to be messed up for the rest of the day. I don't want to drive home that day like feeling all messed up. So I tap. But when we started rolling next time, I was very mindful of my neck. I didn't let him get a hold of it. And I was also very mindful about the pace that I was going with him. I wasn't taking it as easy since he wrenched my neck pretty hard. But what I would say is just when you get caught in the neck cranks, like you can tap to him a little bit faster if you get stuck in them, because some guys will just sit there and hold on to him. And again, yeah, you could eat it and you could fight out of it, but long term, that's going to do a lot of damage to your neck. And again, it's not, to me, it's not worth it. It's not as clean of a submission as a choke. Like a choke, you get caught in a choke. I'm caught in a choke. A neck crank, you're fine for a while, but if you keep getting put into them over and over again and you don't tap fast enough, eventually you'll start to like get some serious damage to your neck, and you don't want that. So again, I eat neck cranks in competitions. I remember there was one in 2019 I did where the guy, he didn't have a guillotine. He was just cranking on my neck, which is crazy. Black belt's doing it. But he's just cranking on my neck. And I ate it. I was like, I'm not going to tap to this because it's not a choke. But, man, this hurts my neck. And I remember, like, the next week, I'm, like, stiff. Yeah. So, but in the gym, I tap pretty quickly to him. Personally, I'm 37 now. Yeah, so 37 years old. I'm getting close to 40. And this is one of the things that you have to do. Like, you've got to pick your battles as you get older. Because again, you don't exactly have full tread on the tires anymore. So you want to make sure that you don't eat unnecessary punishment. So if they give you a neck crank, just tap out. Just tap out to it a little bit quicker. And then the next time you roll with them, just be very mindful of the position.
I also think, honestly, neck strengthening is very important. Obviously, mobility work for the neck, but strengthening is important. Okay. There's different devices. I like the Iron Neck is great. It's simple because it's simple to use. You just set it up and use it. But neck strengthening is probably one of the best things. I know somebody had said something about concussions and things like that. Yeah. It's really important to have some good neck strength. That stability is important. Also some mobility and like you said, just tap out. Like don't eat these because you're getting these injuries, this repetitive injuries to your neck. It's not good.
All right, so that's one question. So Keegan,
what are you gonna do for Keegan?
So Keegan, you were the first one. So let us know what gift you'd like. If you want the gummy pack, let's see. Where's the things?
We'll pick it. Why don't we just pick it?
Okay, you pick one.
Let's do the Epic Roll. We'll do the Epic Roll. Rash Guard and shirt.
All right. So Keegan, your mission, should you choose to accept it, is you need to send us a message or email. And then you can get your stuff. So either email to me or a message to Eugene, and we'll help you get your stuff. Congratulations!
Awesome. We have Michael.
I wish we had music or something. You have
Michael.
You need music on that.
No,
like we need. Oh,
I've got it over here.
Doesn't it have sounds?
I'm not gonna mess with it right now.
I want some sounds.
I'll do it later.
Hold on a second. I want some sounds.
Boy,
this is like it's. We're doing like a guest game show thing, and we don't have sounds. This is bullshit. All right,
yeah. So we'll pick. We don't just want to pick people that like that throw up for the super chat. We want to just pick people. Let me see if I find anything right now. Michael said something. Let me get to Michael real fast. Michael, thank you for a super chat. Often get anxiety while rolling because I've never done cardio like this before, and the rapid fast heart rate freaks me out. You have any advice?
Okay, yeah, I got you. So check this out, Mike. I am someone that Eugene would tell you. So Eugene and I both suffer from anxiety of sorts for completely different reasons. Okay, and I'm like you, where I'm very, very into my body, and it can really get me like kind of throw me off, right? And I understand what you're talking about, where you can feel your heartbeat going faster. And it's like you feel it. You're like, why do I feel this so much? And then all of a sudden you get into this mental loop. So check this out. One, I would encourage you to go get checked out by your doctor. I did this like years ago because I felt like I was a little off. So here's a fun story for you. I'll give you the story where I almost thought I had a heart attack. So I thought that there was something feeling off, but I wasn't sure what it was, but I figured it was just me being up in my head. And I figured I'd go to the doctor. They would tell me everything's fine, and then I could put it to rest. So I go to my my primary care guy, and he puts me on like this little, like I think it's like a 3-prong or 6-prong EKG. Yeah. And I do the EKG. It comes back funny. So he comes into the office, and he's like, "Hey, man, so what are you doing this weekend?" Like, doesn't say, "Hey, how's everything going?" I'm like, "What? I don't know." What, you know, and he has a certain tone to him, very like a sort of a somber tone. And I'm like, "I don't know. What do you want me to do, Doc?" He's like, "I'm going to be right back. I'm going to make a call." I was like, "Okay." So I'm freaking out at this point. Oh, he goes out, and I hear him out there. He's like, "Hey, yeah. Da, da, da." So he comes back, and he's like, "Listen, I don't know what's going on, but I want you to go see the cardiologist. I've got it. They're waiting for you right now. Like, go there." I'm like, "Oh shit! What's going on with me?" So I drive to the cardiologist, and I remember being in like straight tunnel vision because you're just like, this is so crazy. I get there, they sit me down in this like lazy boy chair thing, and they start drawing blood and hooking me up to they hook me up to like a 12-prong EKG. I've got all these wires and stuff going in, and I'm just sitting there like, oh, this is it. I remember text messaging my girlfriend Jessica at the time, now fiance. And I was like, hey, listen, you need to find you a different guy because I got a bad ticker. I'm here at the doctor or whatever. And my other student, who's also kind of like one of my sort of I consult with like for doctor stuff, right? He's a nurse practitioner. I was messaging him, and Fleener was like, Yeah, I remember his message was, "Whoa, big fella." Anyways, came back, everything was fine. I maybe moved or something, and the EKGs are funny. I was 100% fine. All the blood work came back fine. Everything was fine. I get my blood work checked regularly. It's fine. And so my thing is, bro, if you go to the doctor and they check out and like they do all your blood work, everything's okay, then you know it's just simply just an anxiety issue. Now, there could be something wrong, so you want to make sure that that's checked out. But assuming that you get everything checked out, it's just an anxiety issue. It's all in your head. And so then from there, when you know it's all in your head, then you can have this fun where you can kind of prove to yourself that it's not a big deal. So for instance, with that heart thing, right? Like your heart beating, assuming that you go to the doctor and everything's good, go train and like feel your heartbeat and just feel it and let it be. Don't be worried about it like being a thing, because you know it's not a thing. You realize it's not a thing. You already got checked out by the doctor. Everything's fine. You're just working really hard. And the more you do that, the more you will become okay with it. It's one of the ways that, like for me, at least in the type of anxiety that I've dealt with, it's basically like I get over it by putting myself into those situations more where that anxiety kicks up and I realize, oh, it's not even like a real thing. It's all in my head. So I know what you're talking about. Like I said, get checked out by a doctor if you haven't so far. And then from there, just keep training. And instead of being nervous about it, just embrace it. Be like, this is what it's supposed to feel like. I'm training really hard. And what you'll probably find is by doing that and having that mindset, you probably won't feel your heartbeat as much because you'll be focused on the training rather than focused on your body sensation. And with that, brother, I will send you a course. So if you want to, just email me, either email me or Instagram message me with your stuff, or Instagram the Chewjitsu podcast thing, and let us know you want a course, and we will have that sent to you, Michael. Appreciate you.
Awesome.
And appreciate you joining us today.
Let's see. There's a couple questions on joint health. Let me go.
Pick one out, bro. That's yours.
Let me go. These are both Eugene questions. So
if it's a joint health question,
one is like one's about concussion rehab. Let's go to this one for joint health. This is, I think, something a lot of people deal with. And this is from Brant. And Brant says, I'm curious your thoughts on joint care. I'm 41, have the knees of someone twice my age. ACL and MCL repair, full of arthritis. Any maintenance tips for the long haul? That's a great question. And
what do you think?
Man, it's so...
I mean, I know it's a tough one.
There have been studies, and some of these studies have shown, like, so say somebody is like a runner, avid runner. Now, there's a spectrum to this. Like, you don't want to be like running triathlons and marathons every weekend, but they showed somebody like that was an avid runner had actually healthier meniscus, had good meniscus, good cartilage, as opposed to like somebody that was just sedentary.
Okay, yeah,
right. So because of like a lot of times the compression stimulus, things like that, that can help with like fluid and help with like health in the tissue. You've even said this before, when you lift weights, right? Your knees feel better, less stiff. So I think number one is strengthening. Strengthening is very important. That's a huge thing. I wouldn't say it's the most important thing. It's variable for everyone, but strength training. You don't have to go really crazy heavy, but loading your joints a little bit, it's actually good and it's healthy. And then making sure you have good mobility. So I like controlled articular rotation. So like basically those are joint circles. So doing those on a regular basis, not just, before training, but like even on off days, to maintain joint health and good mobility. Because say you can't bend or straighten your knee very well and somebody forces you into a knee bar excessively, like you're not gonna have the range of motion. Something's gonna probably get injured. So I think mobility is important again. So that's two things. And then you got to look at frequency, like how much are you training? If you're 41, you may want to be mindful of how many days a week you're training. And also, like you said, tapping is very important, right? If somebody's got you in a knee bar or something, you feel like you can eat it, but sometimes maybe you do that enough times, you're going to cause some damage. And then just regular maintenance, diet, it's good, sleep, all that stuff. But like, I think strengthening and mobility is you can't beat that. And also warming up and cooling down. I mean, there's a lot of, there's so much out there, and you just kind of, like, my knees hurt from jiu-jitsu. They do. Yeah. I've taken care of my knees pretty well, but it's just the nature of the sport.
Yeah, nature getting old too.
Yeah, and you're getting older. I've been at it for like 13, 14 years. So
one thing I would say is because it can be overwhelming, all the different stuff out there for like what you should do. Just start by adding like little bits in. Like start with like a little stretching, like after class or at the end of the night. Add in some squats or something like that every now and then. It doesn't have to be heavy. I really I feel a big difference. And again, Eugene kind of mentioned this. from lifting and focusing on less weight and more controlled movement and range of motion. So really focusing on like getting to a proper squat and taking my time with the movement. That's felt a lot better on my knees than just trying to lift as heavy as possible. And one other thing, just as sort of as a side note, when you're training jiu-jitsu, this is something that like I think everybody should be mindful of. If you're rolling one day and let's say you feel like a pinch in your knee or your shoulder, just a little something. It's like something feels off. We've all had that feeling, ooh, what was that?
Yep.
Just stop training. Wait a little bit, because a lot of time there's been times where I had the pinch and then all of a sudden I was like, screw it. I got to tough through this. I need to, no pain, no gain. That's the motto that I grew up with as a kid, right? No pain, no gain. It's wrong, right? So like when you have pain, back off a little bit, and then you can figure out whether it's pain you can work through or if it's pain you need to respect and back off of. Because I've had, been able to avoid a lot of other injuries sometimes because I believe this, that when I feel that pinch or whatever it might be, I'm able to back off. So combine those things in there, and hopefully that's helpful to you, Brant.
And Brant, send me a message on Instagram, the Chewjitsu Podcast Instagram, and I'll get you a course. You can we can talk, see which one maybe you want. There's a hip course, there's a warm-up course. I just had a cool down course. I just finished it up. It's not out yet, but I can maybe send that over to you as well.
If you want to, Brant, try to get one of those cool down courses or something, because I mean, like, again, you could add that into the mix for your recovery, which is going to be important for you to not keep getting injured and feel. I mean, because the stuff that we did, like when we were doing those
joint mobility.
Oh my
stuff?
God, it was great. Like we did that at the last jiu-jitsu camp last year, and I remember everybody was like, "Oh my God, I feel amazing," whatever. So tell Eugene to send you that, because that's good.
Yeah, so that's a lot of like end range kind of strengthening and mobility work and kind of muscle activation at your end ranges. So, and there's more stuff. You can go to jujitsutherapist.com. There's courses on there if you want to look. But send me a message and we'll kind of hook you up with something. What you got, Chew?
I'll do this other one. Got another one from Tyler, another super chat. So I want to make sure to take care of those guys.
Where's Tyler?
He says, I'm doing my first submission only tournament. What is the main difference between submission only and standard rules and game planning? Okay, so Eugene and I were just talking about this in the green room for the Patreon. So couple differences, and there's a lot of differences. Well, I'll give you some of the big ones, because I mean we could get really minute with these things. So obviously submission only, there's no points. Okay, so the no points means that the tempo changes, because when points are involved, people fight certain positions a lot harder. When you watch a lot of submission only tournaments, people maybe don't fight the pass as hard as they could all the time, because they know that they can just get back out and escape if their escapes are good. The thing that really changes is it's very much going to depend on the people that step out there, because if you've got two guys that are gamers and they want to go after each other, you're going to have a fireworks of a match. If you get someone that kind of backs off, then it's an issue, because if you can't submit the person and you really try and you come up a little bit short, you can get wore down from doing that, and then they can, over time, sometimes submission only matches can last a long time, depending on if it's no time limits. The big thing for the game plan, to me, it really doesn't change that much. It pretty much stays the same. It's like you have to have a process for how are you going to establish a particular position on this person and then get your submission. It really doesn't change. The only thing that changes is you don't have to worry about points. So that's kind of a fun thing, because a lot of times the points can be kind of screwy for people, where the person gets maybe a sweep or something and hangs on to it and doesn't do anything for the rest of the match. So without that, the person's actually going to have to try to submit you, and then I think that a lot of times makes for a better roll. Honestly, whenever I've done one, a submission-only match, it feels a lot more like a really intense roll in the gym rather than a competitive style roll. Because like a competitive style roll where you're like really like having to watch certain point elements and stuff, that's a different game. That's very much this really sharp strategy game, which submission only can be if you know your opponent, but I imagine you're probably not going up against a group of people that you've been scouting for months, right? It's probably going to be at some competition and they're going to throw a division together for you. So in that situation, it's basically going to be like a really intense roll at the gym where you're rolling, but there's no points and you're just going until you submit each other. And a lot of times I've found that with the lower belt divisions, it's different when it's like black belts who have been scoping each other out for months versus like a lot of times the submission onlys in like the regular belts like brown and below. A lot of times they end up being fun matches. They're just going after each other. But the biggest difference is you're going to be no points. And as far as game planning goes, it doesn't change that much. You just don't have to worry about points, so you don't have to worry about giving them up. You don't need to worry about getting them. And I would just pay a little bit more attention to your submissions leading up to the competition with your training. So make sure that you're trying to sort of zero in on a handful of submissions that you're best with, so you can try to sharpen those up before the match starts. And Tyler, I will send you, depending on where you are, as long as you're not like. Real quick, Tyler, where are you? I have to ask that.
Might be Canada.
Well, so Tyler, send me a message. Let me know where you're at in the world, and I'll tell you what gift I'm going to give you, because it might depend on things.
Yeah. All right, Chew. Let's see.
You pick the next one.
I'll pick. All right, here's a good one, Chew.
Yeah.
We've had this one maybe before, but what about this one? It says James asks, Chew, what outside activities of BJJ do you do for cardio? I've got this half marathon coming. Wanted your opinion on cardio. So
real quick, Tyler, you're in Canada. Send me a message on send us a message on my email or on Instagram, and I'll send you a book and a T-shirt. Woo! So as far as cardio goes, probably not as much as you think. I ride a bike. I'll ride a bike, either a stationary bike or ride a regular bike on the road and stuff. I do hill sprints. Got a hill in my backyard, so sometimes I'll go out there in the morning and run up it. Mm-hmm. You know, just do about about 10 of those, like just real fast sprints. That's about it. Yeah. I mean, the thing is like with training, the bike is how I get like most of my extra cardio, like either my steady state cardio, or I'll do intervals on it, and it's easier on my knees so I can keep going. And then I'm doing weight training too, and a lot of the weight training that I'm doing involves like supersets and like higher rep sets. So I'm definitely taxing my body that way, and then I'm lifting, so I'm getting a lot in. I sometimes think that people overestimate it to some degree about how much cardio you need to be doing. I think cardio is best, like if you're going to do a lot of it, is best saved for like when you're getting ready for a fight or a competition. Because if you're not getting ready for a fight or competition, you don't really want to be like banging your body down with extra cardio all the time. You'd be better to put that into skill work. And then leading up to a fight or competition, then you can get your road work in. Like when I was fighting back in the day, because James, I know you're not as old as the Chewster, so you might be fighting or getting a competition or something like that. So when I was getting ready for a fight, I would run throughout the week. I'd run some miles. I might do a bike. I might do some sort of CrossFit workout or something like that. I would do a lot more cardio, but a lot of times it was like running, biking. Those have always been kind of go-tos. But I never did a lot of it before or all year round. I would do most of it like around the fight time. And then besides that, most of the time I just do a little bit of steady state cardio, since that's not a thing that we don't really get a lot of steady state style cardio in the gym with jiu-jitsu, because it's all over the place. So I want to tax my body in a different way that's been taxed all the time. So again, not as much as you think.
I do stationary bike, or actually I have a road bike. I love getting on the road bike. I hate running. I actually feel a lot of benefit because I like the steady, like the building up like my cardio base. Mm-hmm. I think it's valuable, and I feel better when I do train. But also you need that intensity. You need to do intervals. You need to be able to kind of push it a little bit. A lot of jiu-jitsu, is like getting your heart rate up and then getting it down. Yeah. Being able to recover. Like your recovery rate's kind of pretty important. But I definitely like, I hate doing cardio, so I like riding the bike just because I get to let my mind kind of look at trees and whatnot. Mm-hmm. It kind of distracts me, so I enjoy that.
Yeah. So
all right. We have lots of good questions.
What are we gonna give Mike? Or James?
James?
What do we give James?
What do we got left?
Well, I'm gonna give away a couple more courses, a couple more books, T-shirts. Okay. So we still got this, and then whatever else you want. What do you think?
All right, let's do. I'll do a T-shirt. I'll give you a T-shirt, James. How's that sound? All right. Send Eugene. Send me a message. I'll send you a jiu-jitsu therapist T-shirt, or even a podcast T-shirt. We should have some of those.
Whichever one you want.
Yep. You tell me. Just send me a message on Instagram.
All right.
All right. We're like Santas over here. Santa Clauses. Okay, this is an interesting one, Chewy. This is an interesting question. What do you think about that one right there?
What is it?
Can you see it? This one right there?
Go ahead, click on it.
You want to click on it?
Yeah, click on it.
All right. This is from Oren. And Oren asks, will a female practitioner always be inferior to male overall? In other words, can you really compensate the lack of strength with flexibility or technique, or is it just a nice myth?
It's interesting, isn't it? So obviously, generally speaking, I mean, there are exceptions to this rule, of course. Most men will be physically stronger than women. I mean, that's just the nature of the beast. I mean, it's just the nature of male and female. It is what it is. That said, can women overcome a male, right? Because I think it's what you're asking. Because inferior to superior, that's a weird thing to ask, because when we're saying inferior, what are we defining it as? But I'm gonna take it as like, because you're saying, is it just a nice myth? So we're gonna say, can the woman overcome the male, right? Let's say it like that. Yeah, they can.
Absolutely.
Now, here's the deal. If you take a male and a female, and they both have like similar skill, and the male's like much larger and stronger, the male's probably going to have the advantage, right? But that would be the same as even if you took like two same size guys and like they were both male, and one male is much bigger and stronger than the other, the male's probably going to have an advantage. That's why like I always say about like strength training, if technique is equal, strength and all that other stuff comes into it. But like for instance, this morning, one of the brown belts, female brown belt, was training with us, and she was rolling with a pretty good, strong young guy who, I mean, he's a white belt, but he's still a strong man, and he's been training. He's not like a brand new white belt. He's like close to blue belt, white belt kind of thing, right? And I mean, she's all over him, just like, just cutting him down and whatever else as far as position goes. She's, being able to pass his guard, sweep him, whatever. I remember having one of the females that trained with me. She was a white belt, and she was going up against like a brand new white belt. I generally don't let the brand new white belts roll with the women because sometimes they're too wild. And I remember she was like, I got this. And she rolled with the white belt. And I remember he like was just squeezing her on her head or something, and she like tapped out. And she had this little thing for her hair, and so she like was adjusting her hair, and I was coming over to stop the roll, and she kind of like said, just motioned me off, let me do it. I kind of knew what she meant. I was like, okay. So I just sat there and watched, and afterwards she like got this guy down and beat the crap out of him, right? Like put like heavy pressure on him and whatever. Granted, she was about 160 pounds or so, so she was a decent sized woman. She's like 5'7", 160 pounds. But yeah, so women can, over time, develop the ability to overcome a man. It's one of those things where when you put them into similar skill levels, then again you have like a physical issue where, again, just the male and female, the design of our bodies are just different. And we have testosterone flowing through us. We're bigger and stronger generally, not always, right? But it's not to say that it's a myth, because what you'll probably find is as you keep training for a long time, you'll probably be able to overcome certain men in the gym, even as they start to go harder and whatever else. And so it's possible, 100%. And there's even been matches like, who was it? Hillary, I can't remember her last name, but Hillary, she was a female grappler, really popular. I want to look her up real quick because now it's bugging me. Mm-hmm. But she was a female grappler back in like 2012. She was super popular. And she did several tournaments where they were co-ed, and she won. Yeah. I mean, she ended up beating Gabby Garcia too once.
Yeah, I mean, you look at like, even it doesn't matter if you take like a large male versus a smaller male, right? Yeah. And you have strength as kind of a big discrepancy there. I mean, you saw like say Mikey Musumeci, yeah, right? And him and Muhammad went against. I think Muhammad beat him, right? But Mikey,
I think he beat Muhammad.
No,
okay.
No, Muhammad beat him. I think they had like, it was like an open weight. Muhammad,
it was a good match though.
Yeah, it was a good match, but like Mikey, anybody his size, like he's crushing him, even bigger. But I mean, then you're going to Muhammad's like 200 plus pounds versus like 130 pounds.
And Mikey's also like a freak of nature as far as his abilities and skills and everything else.
For sure, but that's still, it only gets you so far. But I think like jiu-jitsu can be the great equalizer sometimes, but there's a limitation to it, like everything.
Right, there's a limitation to it. So in the woman's name was Hillary Williams. So thank you to Will Wilson. So Hillary Williams, great grappler. She went into some co-ed divisions and won. I've seen women wrestlers and grapplers beat males and stuff like that. So Absolutely. Again, you can do it. Again, there are limitations, and it's not going to be an easy road. So just understand that. So, Oren, thank you for your question.
Thanks, Oren.
And if you want to, Oren, I know you're on my email you're on my email list. So if you, or on Instagram, either way, I know you're on both. If you want to send me a message, and I will send you a course of your choosing. So you can do that, and we'll get that to you. Thank you for your question.
All right, Chew. Here's one. Let's do this one. This is probably this is a good one to kind of talk about. Something you.
That's something I just struggled with.
Yeah. So I'll read it. This is from Kaglar. Hopefully I'm saying that correctly. And it's having hard time to sleep after I get back from home from training, especially when I go hard at rolling. Is there any advice you could give?
So here's one thing, Kaglar. So I'm going to start giving you some ideas to chew on, Kaglar. If you would, let me know how much space is in between when you train and when you go to sleep. So for instance, like if you train at you get done at 8:00 p.m. and then you try to go to sleep at, let's say, 11 p.m. or something like that. Let me know what that time generally looks like, because that'll be helpful to it. But I'll give you some ideas. So this is something I just dealt with, and I've never ever had trouble sleeping. Never in my life. I'm always, and I'm back to that now, but I've always been one of those people that just falls asleep. Literally, when I'm ready to go, I'm out. And I can sleep almost anywhere, I don't need the perfect bed and everything else. I can kind of sleep wherever, and pass out just fine. But there was a span from it was around from December and January. It was around that time I was struggling with sleep. There were days where I would go almost several days without more than 2 or 3 hours of sleep at night. And it was rough, terrible, awful. And I've got it all since figured out. So a couple things. One, I would figure out what's going on. So for me, mentally, my issue was my mind wasn't turning off. So I think everybody can relate with that, right? You get too into whatever it is you're doing, or you get you overthink certain things, whatever. But your mind's going in a place. Your mind's going a mile a minute, even though your body's starting to wear down. Well, that was going on with me, and I couldn't get my mind to turn off. And so what I did is I found different things that would relax me, just different things that would literally take my mind and make me to stop thinking about whatever it is I'm thinking about, and then be 100% in the moment with that thing that I was doing, right? That was a big deal. So one is I read mostly fiction-based or story-based books at night, because it tends to help me kind of get in the story and I forget about whatever is going on. And I instituted one night of, it's not close to bedtime. It's about 3 hours or about 2 hours before bed, but I'll play video game one night a week for 2 hours. And it just helps me, it's like I'm turning off my brain for a little bit, right? So then I'm just going down these lists with you of stuff that I did, because I was going down the rabbit hole. The next thing I did is I put a red light lamp in my bedroom. So with the hues of the sky, so for instance, we say that blue light is bad, right? The reason why blue light is bad is because when the sun is coming up in the morning, the actual light that it gives off has a bluer hue to it or whatever. It's more blue than it is red. Well, the sunset, you can look at a sunset, it's red and purple. It's a darker hue. And so I've got a lamp in my house where, when bedtime, we have yellow. I have yellow and red lamps around, so this way they're a lot more dim, and they give off a different color. And I also I don't mess around with my phone anywhere close to bedtime, and I just start reading and relax, right, and kind of give it that time. CBD, I take CBD 30 minutes before bed. That seems to help. Take that for what you will. I also, as soon as I get up in the morning, I try to get outside and get some sunlight. So I've seen where this helps kind of set our circadian rhythm. So I try to be, first off, I try to be regimented about my sleep time, mainly when I go to sleep. I give myself a little bit of a window when I wake up, because I don't want to be if I need a little bit more sleep, I'll take a little bit more sleep. There was a study where I think it was 1 hour of sleep was worth more than $70,000 if someone's.
I remember you saying
that. For a person's happiness. So just get an extra hour of sleep. But I'm really regimented about when I go to sleep. So I go to sleep about the same time every day. And then I wake up in the morning, and as soon as I get up, I go outside, and when I'm eating breakfast, and I try to get some sunlight. Even if it's kind of cold outside, I'll still go outside and get some sunlight. For about 10 to 15 minutes, and I'll sit outside and read or just kind of walk around the property. And so those things seem to help right there, kind of getting my mind to turn off, and then instituting these just good sleep habits. I also found that stretching and some deep breathing could be helpful at nighttime as well for me to kind of relax and chill out. The last thing I'd give you is supplements. If you need to get some supplements, because sometimes I find that there's almost a certain level of, if you have So if you don't go to sleep, if you have trouble sleeping, sometimes we get in our head that we're having trouble sleeping, and then it's like this perpetual thing. It's a vicious cycle. So to develop, like, get back and get the confidence that you're just going to fall asleep like you should, one of the things I did was take supplements. One of the supplements I took, I basically tried all these different sleep supplements. And so the two that I liked the most, one is from Origin, the Jiu-Jitsu brand company, Origin. They have a sleep-based one. It's like, I forgot what it's called, Hypno or something. It works. It's good. It's mostly valerian root and skullcap and some theanine and stuff like that, and some zinc and magnesium. So it's good. It's got a good blend. And then there's another one called Gorilla Mind. I tried that one out. That one's got like everything in it. Like, it's like literally every possible sleep compound that I could think of. It's just in there. And it says four pills to a serving, but I only took one pill. I took one pill and I was out. And I've given that to a few of my students. Those two supplements, I've given them to my students just to try out if they had trouble sleeping, and that like works for them. So that could be another strategy as you're doing all these other things to increase your sleep, getting off your phone at nighttime, making sure that you're giving yourself time and space to wind down for an hour before you go to sleep, that kind of stuff. Then along with that, maybe take some supplements to help you sleep, to build the confidence back up. So this way, like, you're not thinking, so this way you don't identify as someone who has a hard time sleeping. And that's the last thing maybe I'll lead you with before I give you your gift, is you are identifying as someone who has a hard time sleeping. That is a belief that you have, and you got to be careful with that. Because if you hang on to that idea, you that becomes part of your identity, right? I have trouble sleeping at night. It's not necessarily, it doesn't have to be true. So don't hang on to that, because if you do, it can be an issue. So, because it was for me at least, like, I'm having trouble sleeping at night, right? That kind of thing. And when I got rid of that, that seemed to help a bit. So anyway, those would be the things I would say. Go watch this later on when it's uploaded. You can rewatch and get the tips again. And then if you would like something, let me know. Let me know where you're from, and I will tell you what I'll give you.
Chewy, a couple more things that you've actually mentioned before.
Let me know.
You always talk about like taking a hot shower and, and some cool down stretching. I think cooling down, do some deep breathing, slow breathing with some stretching to kind of get your body down to resting rate is very important to kind of get to calm down off of that really aggressive kind of training.
Yep.
And then you had mentioned a lot of the supplements, like some of those ingredients. They have Charlotte's Web does have like that sleep spray. And it's got like skull cap and all that stuff in there, so that's an option too. But yeah, like the routine thing is really important. Get yourself like a routine, like you may read or you may kind of do some breathing, things like that. This one I want to answer actually, because this one is a little bit, they want you to answer it, Chew, but I'm going to answer it.
Okay, you answer it together. You answer it.
We'll answer it together. So this is actually from Ryan, and Ryan says, I'm currently having issues with vertigo when I do rolls, whether in drilling or with partners. Any advice to fix this issue? So years ago, I had a pretty... Did you get the information?
Yeah, so Kaglar, send me a message and I'll send you a course, sir.
So years ago, I had like an issue, like I was getting dizzy. I didn't know what the hell was going on. End up having, you go to the doctor and they're like, all right, let's see, they check your heart, do some basic stuff. They're like, well, let's go do an MRI. And they found like a spot, and they thought and that was like one of the scariest experiences of my life, right? Because they thought that like maybe I had something on my brain. It turned out to be nothing. It was just like some people have like imperfection or scarring and stuff. But, that was one thing. I was getting dizzy from time to time. And I think what it ended up being was like, actually I had like some kind of infection, like a viral, like something like a virus, and someone can attack your inner ear. Again, if yours is primarily with movement, I would say it's important. Like a lot of physical therapists actually are special. I don't really do this very much, but they can train in vertigo, like training, like sometimes you can get the crystals in your inner ear can get moved or like dislodged and go into a different area. So like when you move your head or you position a certain way, it'll make the room spin.
Oh.
So some of that, like you can do training. So first of all, you can do repositioning, but you have to go to a therapist, get that assessed first, because they'll look at your eyes and see if your eyes are kind of, if you have nystagmus basically. So get that assessed. Number one, make sure there's nothing else going on. And then they can actually show you exercises to kind of help condition. It's almost like training. You'll do training with your eyes or head movements and things like that I think are really valuable. And I think it's just like training your balance or training your body's ability to kind of withstand those directional changes and things like that, and the velocity and all that stuff.
Yeah, Jess was having trouble with vertigo, and that's what she did too. She did these exercises,
exactly,
and they seemed to take care of it.
You can do a repositioning on your own. Like once you get taught to do these exercises, you can do repositioning, because a lot of times we're inverting or on our side or upside down, whatever. So get it checked out first. It's really difficult to say like exactly what the cause is. Get it checked out first. Make sure there's nothing. Have a therapist kind of look at it. And a lot of times they'll do some tests that can give them some ideas. Great question, Ryan. If you want to, what do you want to do with Ryan here?
Let's see here. Well, I don't know. So here's what we've given away a little bit of this. So we still have this and this to give away. We have these things to give away.
Can't read your chicken scratch chew.
Oh, well, we've got the recovery pack, the Manscaped, and we also have some other stuff. Yeah, so.
Okay, let's do. What do you think for Ryan?
It's up to you, buddy. You make the choice.
Well, I'll give you a course. I'll give you one of my courses, Ryan. I'll give you. So send me a message on Instagram, on the Chewjitsu Podcast Instagram. I'll send you a course on some mobility or hip movement or anything like that you want. And then we'll give away. Next one we'll do is we'll give away. We'll figure it out.
Yeah. So the only thing we have to make sure, guys, is that if we give you the CBD, that you can actually get it in your country, because some countries it's still legal.
We probably want to keep that like in a ship overseas type stuff. So
So if you guys if you ask a question, just like when you ask your question, let us know where you're from. Like just put put USA or Turkey or wherever you're from. I know we had one from Turkey just a bit ago. So I'll answer this one. So another super chat. So Gartuck, if you'll let me know as I'm answering this where you're from, what part of the world you hail from, and we'll look at this. So it says, any advice on training related neck pain / stiffness? I train 3 to 4 days a week and do a lot of overhead stuff at my job. The left side of my neck has a lot of pain when going ear to shoulder. So like this.
Side bending.
Side bending. So what do you think that, so I'm, for me, like, I'm not the best person like that, but it sounds like maybe some sort of like muscular imbalance or something, I imagine. But it's hard to diagnose without seeing you.
It really depends on if it's a joint issue, if you're having any pain down your arm. It's a tough thing. Like, I think you should probably get it looked at, get it assessed. Again, same answer. I think the iron neck is helpful. You could use that. You can just do some basic stretching to start, some mobility work, but get it assessed. A lot of times, just getting our necks cranked on over and over, it can be a culprit in that. But you want to make sure that it's whether it's a joint issue, like the actual vertebrae, or is it a muscular issue. A lot of times when you're side bending and it's the side that you're closing in on, so your ear to your shoulder, if that's the spot that's kind of causing you issues, a lot of times that's a joint. That's a joint compression. There's something going on in the joint there. Okay. So there's some things that obviously can help, but it would probably be best treated kind of seeing a therapist or a doctor that can kind of really diagnose exactly what's going on and give you some ideas on what to do. I think it can go a long way instead of you trying to figure it out on your own.
So yeah, do that. So go and see. Obviously, go see. It's not fun, but go see someone for your neck. And then in the meantime, while you're waiting to do that, I mean, dude, this is so simple. This simple stuff. I mean, like, we try to overcomplicate this sometimes, but some of this stuff is so simple. It just requires a little bit of discipline or stick with itness, I guess you'd say. But like, stretch a little bit. Just like at nighttime, like, this is what I do. Like, this is what like works the best for me. I take a hot shower, and then I just do like 10 minutes of stretching, and I just do a handful of stretches that I like that help me out with specific areas. And I found that certain stretches help with certain areas. So even like my neck, my trap up here gets really tight, and I find that I have to stretch out my biceps. I have to stretch out my neck up here. I've got to stretch out a few different muscles to get that sucker to loosen up, and then it helps. And again, it's not anything crazy. It's not a magic silver bullet, but it does help. So I would say, like, take Eugene's advice. Obviously, go see someone so they can diagnose what's going on specifically. And having a guy like Eugene do that is really important, because I know for me, like, I've had several injuries over the years. Like, I had a shoulder injury during COVID, during the lockdown and stuff. And he had me doing my little exercises and stuff, fix the issue, no problem. And so a lot of times, if you can work with someone like that, they can help get you fixed up.
Yeah, I mean, it can really take out a lot of the guesswork, and they can show you things to do and things to avoid. Again, a proper warm-up is very beneficial. A proper cool-down is also beneficial. Just getting the joints moving, get the body moving on a regular, not just when you're training, before training or after, just on off days. Keep your body moving. I think it's really valuable to do those things.
All right. So he's in Georgia. Do we want to...
Georgia, the country?
No, the state of Georgia.
Yeah, cool. Why don't we do, what do you want to do? You want to do a Manscaped?
We'll give him Manscaped.
All right. Gartuck, you get, if you're in Georgia, the state, you will do the Lawnmower 4.0. There it is.
You get a trimmer to go trim your balls and your beard.
There you go. Let's hope you got a beard. We had another, who's this one? Right here, Chewy. Okay. Fenrir. Let me see. This is an interesting one. Let me see. All right. This is an interesting one. I don't know. It says, how do you feel about BJJ for dealing with opiate withdrawal following injury? It helped take my mind off of quote unquote it, giving me a reason as to why I was feeling crap due to intensity of training. So, maybe what I understand from the question is that like the intensity of training, the vigorous activity helped kind of
take the mind off things.
Yeah, take mind off of it, helped kind of recover or kind of get away from the opiate use.
Yeah, I'm not an expert on going through opiate withdrawal. So obviously consult your doctor on that kind of stuff. But what I can say is I know I have several students and friends who have trained who used to use opiates back in the day and abused them back in the day. And when they were coming off of it, like they had to give themselves something to get into it. And I don't know like if you overuse them or what, but that was their issue. Like they overuse them. And so they would actually, they found that jiu-jitsu gave them something to focus on, something to put themselves into and something to dive into where they didn't have to, they found a reason not to use anymore. I have several friends like that where like they got into jiu-jitsu and that like helped them get off of it, helped them give them a reason not to do the stuff again. And like you said, it got their mind off of it. Instead of just sitting around, when you do jiu-jitsu, you can't think about, what's going on. You're having to fight someone off your back trying to choke you. Your mind is 100% in the moment. I think for a lot of people, that's what they love about it is because there's a moment of presence where you get to just be in the moment rather than everything else that's going on, right? Like you're trying to fight this person off your neck who's trying to choke you. You can't really think about anything else. And so I would think that, again, as long as you're obviously not having physiological issues that would need to be seen by a doctor, I mean, like if it's helping you mentally, then, I mean, again, here's what it boils down to. If it's helping you, that's what matters. Whether it's an activity or whatever, if it's helping you become a better person, it's helping you move towards who you want to become, and it's helping you be a happier person, that's great. And, again, I would continue to do it.
Yeah, there's a lot of, psychological benefits, to working like vigorously exercising, obviously with hormonal kind of just the epinephrine, kind of what you release in your body, kind of feel good hormones. I think it's pretty important. So there's another question we had, Chew.
So Fenrir, where are you from, brother? I imagine from the UK. I see like the pound symbol.
Pound.
But show retracted message. Michael, so we'll go hit him in just a second because he already had a question, but he wants to ask another one.
Okay.
But let's see here. See if you pick another one.
Who's that?
No, just keep.
Do you want to pick another one?
Yeah, just pick another one here, and then we'll come back to Mike in just a second.
Okay. Let me see. I don't know. All right, we'll go with this one real quick. This is from Sam. It says, hey, Chewy, do you have any tips for a teenager that gets out-muscled by grown men in the gym? Try to work technique, but that makes it hard. I train with only adults.
So here's your deal, all right? This is like Chad. Chad back in the day was in the same boat as you. He was a teenager training with a bunch of adults, and he get overpowered. Here's something to think about. Like, whenever you read about people getting good at jiu-jitsu and doing all these things, there's always this inherent struggle to it, right? It's not just, it's always this thing where people are having to overcome. And then when we have our own, it gets frustrating. Like, it's annoying, right? Well, here's your struggle. You're going to have to deal with adults who are overpowering you. And there's nothing you can do about it because it's just the nature of the beast. If they decide to use their strength, they're going to overpower you. Now, you can develop your technique. What you're going to find is that it's going to take a little bit longer to get better than, say, someone else because it's not going to be as easy because you're not as big and developed as them. But what you're going to find is your technique, and I don't know how old you are, so maybe let me know how old you are, Sam, but you're going to find that you are going to improve. You're going to get better over time. And then what's going to end up happening is you're going to develop really good technique because you're forced to. And then later on, when you start to grow into your man body, you're like when you become an adult man, right? Like there's just physiological changes. Like this happened with Chad. Chad's technique was really good. And it's like right around the time where like he's like 14, 15. He's starting to get scrappy. And if we weren't careful, he might catch in something, right? And then as he was getting to like 16, 17, 18, and all of a sudden he's starting to fill out and, he's starting to speak a little deeper and stuff. All of a sudden it's like, oh, snap. It's like now he's got a little strength to him. Like Chad's like a beanpole. And if you look at him, he doesn't look strong, but he's deceptively strong, right? And so again, what will end up happening is you'll have this beautiful technique because you're forced to develop it now. And then when you grow into that man body, you'll then have like man strength to go with the technique. And it's a beautiful thing because that's the thing that like a lot of people coming into jiu-jitsu don't have, because if they're strong, they rely on their strength, right? And in absence of the technique. And then if they're technical, sometimes they don't have the strength. If you're training from a young age, you're going to develop that grappler strength, especially as you're becoming a man, and it'll be a beautiful thing. The only downside to that, because what I'm painting right now is a beautiful picture, isn't it? Right? You're going to be technical, you're going to be strong, it's going to be nasty. Here's the issue, though. Can you deal with right now? Can you deal with actually being in the gym and not being able to beat people because you're getting overpowered and having to figure out the technique, and it's frustrating? If you can do that, on the other side of it's going to be a beautiful future in grappling. If you let it overcome you, then that's the issue.
Yeah, so you see it with some of these younger grapplers that they start getting the strength, and like all of a sudden they're catching up closer and closer. So I want to say correction real quick. I said epinephrine, I meant endorphins. I said epinephrine for some reason. About the
that's adrenaline, yeah.
Yeah, it's adrenaline. I'm talking about endorphins. Those are the feel-good hormones. So I wanted to make sure I corrected that, and I was like,
so Sam, send me a message. Send us a message, and I'll send you a T-shirt and a book.
Look at that, Chewy, educating the youth. Do we want to do that one with?
Yeah, let's answer it real quick. And the thing is, I don't know what, like, someone else said it. I thought it said Costco. I was like, Costco chondritis. I'm like, what's Costco chondritis?
Costochondritis.
I don't know what that is.
That's inflammation of like the cartilage. Do you want me to go for that? Is there a question?
Yeah,
there?
yeah. So you can answer. He doesn't. We already gave him a gift, but you can look at it and.
No need. Okay, so he said.
Again, he was the one that was very like sensitive to the heart.
I got you. It says X-rays show I'm fine, but chest hurts when there's pressure. Yeah, what that is, costochondritis. Like it's basically, itis means inflammation. Okay?
Yeah,
so it's like inflammation of like the cartilage. Okay. So a lot of the compression that can lead to some inflammation. Ribs and all that stuff. It's kind of a tricky thing. It's kind of a tricky thing for sure. How to deal with. Try to if you're trying to kind of recover from something like that, be mindful of who you roll with. Maybe pick your partners a little more wisely. Don't go with somebody that's going to put a ton of heavy pressure on you. Let your body recover. Mobility is very important for that, and general strength. Even bench press, rowing, squats, deadlifts, all that stuff's really important. So strengthening, I think, is a huge thing.
Yeah, another thing too is this is something I had to do this for one of my guys this morning. You can let people know if you're hurt.
Absolutely.
Like it doesn't make you a bitch if you do it. I know that people hate doing it because, like, for instance, this morning, one of the guys just came back. His knee got jacked up a little bit, and he was training. And I told one of the other guys, like, hey, just watch his knee. And he said, I'm fine. I'm like, I know you're fine, but just let him know so this way he can avoid it. Not a big deal. And so if you've got something going on with your ribs where you've got this inflammation of it, and it's really painful to you, just let your partner know. Say, hey, man, listen, like, and also, we'll talk about this in a second, but, like, ask him to just be a little bit more easy on you, and then make sure that you reciprocate. So that when you roll with them, you don't go 100%. Like, you make sure that you turn it down a little bit, because otherwise they're gonna have to turn it back up, right? So because again, with your training partners over time, you guys are gonna all incur different injuries, and so in order to keep training for the long term, you're gonna have to learn to work around those a bit. And so just letting your partner know, say, hey man, I've got a little bit of inflammation going to my chest. I've got this thing, whatever. Doctor said it's fine, but it's just real painful. So when you're in side control, would you just not like give me like the real hardcore business? Will you give me just like just a bit easier, and then you match intensity as well, and that can be a way to work around it, but at the same time, not completely avoid training at all.
Yeah, I think it's kind of an unwritten rule of jiu-jitsu. Maybe it's a rule, but like if somebody's like, hey, don't put pressure on my chest, or don't give me heavy pressure, don't go back and put knee on belly on them, or knee on chest on them, or if your ankles hurt, Don't go and start attacking their ankles. Just kind of use it as like a kind of a quote unquote crutch for both of you, and just take that out of the equation, make it more of a level. When I hurt my hand, like I didn't expect it. Some people I would roll with one hand. I would have one hand in my belt, and some people would roll with one hand as well. Some people wouldn't, but it was kind of fun. It kind of switched it up. But it's just one of those things. Like I think if you tell somebody not to attack something, you got to reciprocate it. What's that one?
All right.
Thomas. Well, what do you want to do? We don't need to do anything with that one.
Yeah. So here we go. We got I think we got a couple of them. We got to catch up. So we've got 3. So Joe McCarthy says,
All right.
"Hey Chewy, I was wondering how I could roll at a faster, more challenging pace. I'm a 15-year-old yellow about to be a blue belt." Joe, send me a little bit more of your question because I don't really know what you mean when you say a faster, more challenging pace. What would stop you from doing that normally? Like, what would stop you from being at a faster, more challenging pace? So send me that message about what's kind of impeding you from doing that, and then I'll answer your question. Come back to you, bro. And then we'll move down here to Sicario 888. Just want to say, Chewy, your videos helped me overcome tournament anxiety, and I was finally able to podium up. Thanks from California, bro. Congratulations.
Congrats, man.
Congrats on your podium. That's awesome.
It's a big thing. It's an achievement, you know. It's hard to step out there sometimes, and when you do, it's totally worth it.
And Sicario, send me a message, and I'll send you a course, and then we're eventually going to get rid of this the CBD pack. Let's see here.
You want to go to Thomas?
Thomas Callinan. I'm a new teacher. What do I do with new students that are terrified of putting their weight on people at all? Almost zero aggression. The opposite problem of people with too much aggression. I know what you're talking about. So yeah, so I've talked about this before on the channel where most people can be overly aggressive, but some people, like, they have no aggression in them, or it's been completely like pushed out of them. Because a lot of times they have trouble accessing that aggressive side of themselves, but everybody has a little bit in them. I don't think everybody's. I think what ends up happening is it's almost like the warrior goes offline, and we have to kind of wake it up a little bit. So with that, a lot of times, this is what I've experienced, and so you may have some different things like that. One of the big things that I've seen from people with both kids and adults is that they either don't want to be mean to someone because, like, they're like, well, if I do this, I'm going to be mean to them because they're squeezing them so hard, and they don't want to hurt someone else. They're being very empathetic, right? Because they know it's going to suck for them, so they don't want it to do with someone else. Or they've been told their whole life that they're not allowed to do it. And then all of a sudden you're telling them, no, it's okay. Like, kids, this was terrible with kids. I remember you'd have these kids and you're telling them to basically wrestle and fight and be rough. And then the rest of their lives they're told, don't do that. Like, be nice to other people, whatever. And they're like, I'm supposed to be nice to these people. I had one kid, no kidding. He was at school. And this kid was like really tough in the gym. He was at school and some kid like grabbed him by the neck and he just like threw his hands off. He said, "Stop touching me." And the kid's trying to basically fight my kid, my student, and the student's just throwing him, like pushing him back. He's like, "Stop!" Like, but he never addressed the threat. And I talked to him. I was like, "Why didn't you fight back?" And he said, "Well, because I don't want to be mean and get in trouble." And I was like, "Well, no, that's okay. We can do that here." We had to talk about the rules of engagement, right? Going back to the people inside the gym. With people inside the gym, a lot of times I find that when they think they're being mean to them, I'm like, no, this is the best thing you can do for the person. You have to educate them about why it is that we're doing these things. Like, so you're making this person better by being a little bit heavier, by putting pressure on them. You're making them better because that's what's going to happen to them if someone fights them, or if they go to a competition, or if they roll with anyone else in the gym. So if we don't do those things, we're not helping them in the long run. 2, we're not helping ourselves because now we don't know how the pressure actually should feel. And should we need this movement during a fight to protect ourselves during a competition or just during a roll to be successful? We're not going to be able to find it. And also, we're not being mean because all the stuff that we do, it's rough stuff, right? We do this, but we're in a contained space, right? That's the whole idea that I've shared before on the channel of a walled garden, right? When we're in the gym, we do things that we're not allowed to do or that we would not normally do outside of the gym. You understand this. Like, I'm not going to go outside of the gym and let someone put me in a choke. But in the gym, it's completely okay. And so, again, just letting him or her know that, letting these people know that it's okay to do those things inside of this context, inside the gym. And you're actually helping the person by putting pressure on them. At least for me, that's a lot of times done the trick. And also, if they're new, you have to give them a little bit of time to tiptoe into the water. So just like anything else, just like a person who's overly aggressive has to slowly learn how to turn their aggression off, or like not off, but down rather, they can't do it in an instant. Same thing with a person who has to learn how to access their aggression. They can't do it in an instant. It's going to take a little bit of time. But again, you giving them the door is open. It's like, listen, you're allowed to do this, and letting them know it's okay. I think it starts that process off. So long question or long answer. And Thomas, let us know. And if you are in the U.S., we will send you the CBD pack. If you're not in the U.S., I'll send you something else. Just let us know in the a little bit below, and we'll take care of that.
Awesome.
And then where was Joe? Did Joe ever get back to us?
Who is it? Joe McCarthy?
Joe McCarthy. Joe McCarthy. Again, let me know more about your question. As I said before, there we go.
Did he get back to you?
Yeah, he says, I feel sometimes what is holding me back is being afraid to pull the trigger. So you're afraid of what ifs. So Thomas, send us a message. We'll send you the CBD pack. We'll have the CBD pack sent to you. So, okay, going back to Joe McCarthy's question, right? So he says, I feel like something, is holding me back. He's not able to pull the trigger. So yeah, so that's the thing. So I don't know how long you've been training, but I used to be the same way. And for me, the issue was, well, what happens if it fails? What happens if I do this and I get smashed afterwards? So what you've got to do is you've got to completely obliterate that idea out of your mind. You can't think about the what ifs. It's like this is true about anything. If we go into a situation, especially like jiu-jitsu, where we've got to be able to think on our feet or think on our toes, whatever you want to say, we have to be very quick with our thoughts and our movements. We have to be able to react and make things happen. You can't be thinking about, well, what if? You just can't do it because it gets in your way. Because then, like you said, you'll see the submission, you'll see the opportunity, and it'll pass by you because you're thinking, well, what if this happens? Oh, it's too late. And so what I did when I was younger, when I struggled with this, is I kind of just, there's an idea in my head where, like, if you know that you have a struggle with a particular thought process, then mentally you have to put up like sort of almost like mental guards up in your brain. And then as soon as a particular thought tries to invade, they push back. And so if you know that you do this thing where you what if about and you second guess pulling the trigger on the submission, then what you've got to do is you've got to be ready for that. And as soon as you feel that feeling, you have to, like, the mental reaction has to be like, screw it, I'm just going to do it anyway. And what you'll find is a lot of times you'll end up going for the submission, going for the movement. You'll fail a lot. We all do, right? But what ends up happening is you become desensitized to that worry or that what-ifing feeling. Now, the beautiful part about that is as your skill gets better, well, then you're able to pull the trigger and you'll have more success later on. But what I would say in the meantime is when you go to the gym, start off by picking a submission that you want to go for. Arm bars, triangles, chokes, whatever it might be. Just pick one or two. Pick a small, make the menu very small of submissions that you're going to go for. Because this way you're not chasing everything. You've got a very limited scope and you can be laser focused on those submissions. And then every time an opportunity presents itself to make one of those submissions happen, like one of the 2 or 3 that you pick, dive on it. And then just let whatever happens, happens. So I think that you could be, I think it's probably one of those things. You're probably either dealing with an issue where you're what-ifing, or you're dealing with a situation where you're overwhelmed by opportunities. And that can be a real thing too. And you can fix both of those by making your menu of submissions smaller and attacks that you want to go for smaller, and then diving on them because those are the only ones you're going to go after anyway as soon as the opportunities show themselves. So Joe, shoot me a message.
Chewy, where do you want them to email you, just in case? Or ask, I'm going to send them.
So if you are a part of my email newsletter at chewjitsu.net/join, just reply back to the email that you get from me on a daily basis, or the reply back to the email that's sent to you, and you will get the email. Joe, shoot me a message, an email, or Instagram, and I'll send you a course. And yeah, guys, I think we're probably winding down here now.
Wind down, do a couple more. I just put in the comments, you can see it says, I put it on there. So Jiu-Jitsu Podcast on Instagram, or sign up at chewjitsu.net/join. Let's see what we got, you. We got a couple more. Let's do maybe like what? Have we given away all the stuff?
Everything's been given away.
Epic roll, all that stuff. I'll do like a course or something if somebody wants that.
Let's see here.
See if we got anything, guys. A couple more questions, then we'll...
we got so many good ones.
We have a lot of good ones, so maybe we'll go back through these. And
I might go back through these and save some of these for videos because there's some good ones in here.
Or we'll do another podcast with just some Q&A. I think... Let's see if we got anything else. Okay, here's one I'll answer. And this is kind of my general idea. Troy says, should you tape up previously or currently broken toes, dislocated fingers when rolling? You want to start with the chew, and I'll give you my
Go ahead.
Okay, so I do tape, but I only tape fingers that have been injured. If my fingers have not been injured, I don't like preemptively tape my hands. I just don't think it's necessary. I did tear some ligaments in my fingers, so I have some instability in those fingers. And I just don't want to re-injure. They don't feel as strong, and sometimes that takes quite a while. But there's certain fingers I just tape, but I only tape if I've had an injury or if I'm trying to come back. I think tape is actually pretty effective. It's and also you got to be able to tape correctly. You want to tape to provide mobility, so you can't close your hand, but you also don't want to, tape to where it restricts your range of motion. But you do want to have a little end range stability there, so you do kind of have some tension in that tape when you do have it. So it just depends on kind of the type of injury you have. A lot of times buddy taping is very easy, and that's just taping two fingers together. I had an injury to like the side, like the ligament on the side of my finger. So I do like a little X type pattern, and then I actually buddy tape as well to give us a little extra support. So, but I usually don't recommend taping unless you need to. Some people think the compression is helpful. Yeah. And it can feel kind of good. But I don't know, Chewy, your thoughts?
I like to tape them sometimes before competitions in the gi, but I don't like to unless they're injured. I don't like to mess with them, just because I'm like I just don't think it's probably a good idea to always rely on that. But if one of my fingers is messed up, I'll buddy tape it or something like that. But that's about it.
I agree with that. All right.
Was that just a question?
Who was that? Yeah, I'll send you a course. Who? Troy, I'll send you a course. Send me you can send me a message on the Jiu-Jitsu podcast on Instagram, and I'll send you a course. And I've also got some on my YouTube channel. I've got some videos on taping fingers. You can check that out, the Jiu-Jitsu Therapist. But I'll send you a course. You can kind of tell me there's a warm-up, cool down. There's an elbow course. There's a wrist course, all that kind of stuff. So
I got a question. I can't find it, but I remember it popping up. If I can find it as we're going. Someone asked about what I think about like beginners watching like John Danaher courses. And whether it's a John Danaher course or someone else, it really doesn't make a damn bit of difference to me. Here's what you got to do. The problem with courses, okay, is that think about the fact that course that you're watching is the accumulation of probably a decade or more of experience testing things out, right? It wasn't just made up in a day or two. The problem with courses is people go through them and they watch them and they just kind of like, not always, not all people, but a lot of people will watch through them and they're like, oh, cool, yeah. In John's courses, I mean, they're dense with information. Like I have trouble watching more than about 20 minutes of them at a time because I get so many little nuggets of information. I'm like, all right, I need to stop because I need to figure out, well, how am I going to apply these? Because he gets very good with like a lot of his conceptual information, right? So then I have to figure out, well, how does this work tactically with techniques and how can I turn this into drills and things of that nature to develop muscle memory as well? But it's really good stuff. The problem is if you watch through all of that, you can get this deceptive feeling that you know more than what you do. Because here's the issue. This is the world we live in now, right? You can get easily caught up in an information trap because we live in a world where information, literally right here, this thing, I have this phone, the accumulation of human information, psychology, philosophy, science, math, like sports performance, all of it. It's right there. You can literally just start searching stuff up and finding it. It's amazing. And you get things like YouTube. Like I literally this morning, I was listening to a college class lecture this morning while I was making breakfast. What a world we live in, right? The problem is that you can be in a situation where you think you know more than what you do, where you can watch an instructional. It's not just John's, it's any of them. And you can be like, yeah, I know all these techniques. And knowing a technique's great, but ultimately you need applicable knowledge. You need to put that thing into the grinder to see how it works, because that's where you get a true understanding, right? Someone sent me a message and I thought it was interesting. It was like the difference between intelligence and wisdom, right? Intelligence is knowing that a tomato is a fruit. Wisdom is knowing that you don't put a tomato into a fruit salad, right? Like, but it's true. It's like, because intelligence, you can know that a technique exists. You can know that this is what it is, but then your ability to execute it in the gym is like non-existent. And so here's my strategy. This is like the best thing I can give you for instructionals. Take them one step at a time. Go through and find something. And I think the best way to do it, especially early on, is find something that connects to your game already. So don't try to go and build up a new game from instructionals. Think about, like, I already have a side control position. This is what I did early on. I was already playing side control. I was a wrestler. I was good. So then what I did is I got the DVD instructional set that I had, and it had all the different positions. I started looking in the side control. I was already getting there. It was a very easy thing to just simply add in techniques. And then me and my buddy drilled at my house, and we tried them in the gym. So I would say that try to find instructionals that work in a position that you're trying to work on or that you already have some experience with, and then take that information and just one step at a time, find something you like. And if you find it, just stop there. Like, rewatch that video and then go try that the next day at your gym, and then bit by bit go through that instructional slowly over time, so that you can actually have time to digest each bit of that information that you find useful. If you go in that slower route, it'll feel like you're taking longer to go through the instructional, but I guarantee you'll actually not remember, not just remember more of it, but you'll actually be able to use more of it at the end of it.
Yeah, I agree. Do you watch and rewatch? I mean, kind of find a section, play it over and over, and I think because there's so much depth. Like, for example, the leg locks. I mean, there's so much stuff in there. Now, I just want to say.
By the way, yes, online blue belts are BS.
Online blue belts.
Online blue belts. Yeah, if
I think any belt online is BS.
No, but there's those things. It's like you have to feel it. It's just different.
Yeah. I want to say thank you for some kind words from Mad Dog. He said, great conversation as always. Clear evidence why you are now on number 200. Thank you for this in the community. We appreciate you guys. Without you guys, we wouldn't be able to do it.
Troy said my voice is soothing.
Yeah. Appreciate the support.
Soothing.
It is.
Yeah.
But thank you guys. Really, we love doing this stuff, and just means a lot that you are here to support us.
So one more fun one. So taps, naps, or snaps, says Gordon or Couch.
Oh,
so listen. Jacob Couch
Let's go Couch.
He's my boy. Like, I love that dude. He's from Kentucky, and I love the dude to death. I've trained with him several times. Like, he's such a nice dude. If you ever meet, such a good dude. I would love to see him win. It would be so cool to see him win.
It'd tear up the jiu-jitsu world would go upside down.
It'd be like, oh my God, it would be crazy. I would be so happy for him, right? It would be such a cool underdog story. That said, I think Gordon Ryan's gonna win. I mean, love him or hate him. Because I mean that's what he can be a polarizing figure. Gordon's one of the best grapplers that's walked the planet.
He's the best grappler right now, hands down.
It is what it is, and so he's very, very good. So my money would be on Gordon, but obviously I'm cheering for Jacob because I'd love to see him do well. So.
I think they'll get so Ryan asks Chew as Gordon Ryan, what happens play by play? I mean, I think they're gonna get in a leg battle, and I think
maybe. I think it really depends, because I mean, like, Gordon sometimes doesn't go. He doesn't always jump into leg battles. He'll take the back and stuff.
Yeah.
So,
but I think it'll be eventually. I think Jacob will get in a leg entanglement of some sort, and then we'll figure it out. Because I don't think he's not gonna bully Gordon.
Gordon was like almost 240. And Jacob was like what, 201?
201, 202.
I mean, Gordon's a big dude.
Yeah. It's just it's just the way it is. It's just like that's where you have like even like the skill set. Even if the skill set is close, you got a guy that's bigger and stronger, and that's been it's got more experience and more experience in the big stage as well. Yeah.
Rob Berry said, "Do you agree with Gordon Ryan goes against the grain of traditional BJJ culture of ego?" I don't know what you mean. How do you mean? Just explain that a little bit more for me, Barry. We'll start winding down. We'll answer that last one, and then we'll wrap this up. Thank you guys for being here on the 200th episode. I know we threw it out there. Real quick, thanks to all our sponsors again. Charlotte's Web. Again, if you guys have never tried any of their products out, go to charlottesweb.com. Promo code is Jiu-Jitsu20. Save 20% on the order. You get free. That's the Manscaped. You get free shipping. This is just 20% on the order. Jiu-Jitsu20. It's a great product. Try it for a month. See what you think. See what you think, and kind of see how it affects your body. See if you have the same anecdotal experience that I have, which it's been very beneficial, very positive. Also, thanks to Epic Roll, EpicRollBJJ.com. Promo code is Chewjitsu. Save 15% off the order. Get all kinds of cool gear, apparel, rash guards, gis, shorts, the whole deal. Good designs, good quality products. And Matt is a jiu-jitsu guy who's I think he's actually getting ready to compete this weekend.
Yeah, so he's Matt's out there, man. He's testing out that black belt.
Brand new black belt out there competing. It's awesome.
He does it. You know, it's not. I saw this funny meme that goes, all jiu-jitsu brand companies or something go, "Hello, sir, madam."
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know what you're talking
messages.
about. I get those messages all the time. Matt doesn't. He's a dude.
Matt is that guy, dude. He's been on a ton of podcasts too. So if you want to hear more about Matt, he's been on our podcast as well. So Matt's a good dude, man.
Manscaped. If you're looking for some amazing grooming products for the man in your life, or if you are the man in your life, because you're the man, you should go to Chewjitsu. We usually cut these out when I mess up the promos.
You guys don't realize how much time I spend cutting out.
This is the hardest part for me. So manscaped.com, they've got really good stuff. I love the trimmer. I've used several of their other products that they've sent us. Everything's been really good. The quality's been amazing. And it smells great.
They just came out with deodorant and like body wash.
I'll have to check out the deodorant.
All that stuff.
See if it's aluminum free.
It is, I think, but I've got
Okay.
some, so I'll bring you some for sure.
I don't mess with that aluminum.
Aluminum. There you go.
But check them out. Manscaped.com. Promo code is Chewjitsu20. Save 20% off the order. Get free shipping.
Thanks to them. Acorns.com/Chewjitsu. And then Patreon.
Support if you want to support the podcast and get a bunch of extra free content, you can go over there to Patreon, patreon.com/the Jiu-Jitsu podcast. We have a bunch of extras. There is a green room where we actually do a live Q, like it's just a live chat. We did one right before this episode, so we do that once a month. And then we also have a bunch of not free content, but a bunch of extra content that's never been released that you can get access to. And then last, guys, if you want to join the pod or join the email list, the Chew Crew email list, you can do so by going to chewjitsu.net/join, JOIN. You get 3 free ebooks for your jiu-jitsu, and you get my daily emails. Let me go back to that question now.
Let's do it.
Let's see here. Rob Burry. I meant how Gordon is usually quite outspoken and talks smack a lot, whereas usual BJJ or Action Era are usually humble. Do you think? So here's the deal, bro. So there are people in jiu-jitsu that are genuinely humble people. Genuinely humble, they're great people, right? And there's also people in jiu-jitsu that are like fake humble people. They're like humble people, but then if you actually get to know them, it's like they're not good people. They put on this like front, and they're like actually assholes behind the scenes. So that happened a lot, right? It would be like, oh, you need to be humble, but like you say anything about me, I'm gonna try to fight you, right? This idea that like of quiet little jiu-jitsu guys it's not actually true. Like when I was coming up, jiu-jitsu is very much like these dudes were like all like going and fight each other if someone said anything about each other, right? It's very much like that. But the outspoken part, he's very brash, he's very outspoken, he's out there, he puts on this persona, right, that attracts people. The thing is that it gets you to watch. So we've all been conditioned to like polarization, right? We've all been conditioned to like this excitement, whether you like it or not, right? I mean, this is like the news. The news does it all the time, right? Everything becomes this polarizing topic. Like I just saw some stupid article that was talking about that, like it was trying to associate MMA and fitness with like crazy right-wing extremists, right? It was ridiculous. So silly. There were some crazy right-wing extremists that did MMA and were in shape. That doesn't mean that everybody's in shape or does MMA is a right-wing extremist, right? Silly.
Absolutely.
It's silly. It's ridiculous. Like, I mean, like I'm probably more a little on the conservative side, in today's world, but I'm not a crazy right-wing extremist, right? I'm not a crazy goofball. But again, they do this thing. It's polarizing, so it gets people angry, right? I don't follow that stuff personally. I don't care. Like I'm too busy and it doesn't do it for me, right? I don't like it. Like it's just not my thing. But a lot of people, it does. It gets them excited. It gives them some excitement in their life because people are genuinely bored. I mean, that's just the reality of it. And so it's good for grappling in the sense that it gets more eyeballs. It gets more eyeballs on it. It makes it more entertaining. I know Tim Spriggs, like he's got like a pro wrestling sort of persona going that was kind of entertaining to watch, and his is almost more in the ilk of like Chael Sonnen, where he's like straight up pro wrestling, which I think it was pretty good.
I think Tim, but not switch subject, but Tim I think felt disrespected. Like he knew Tim was like, he's like, I knew I'm high level, man. I'm not getting the respect. I'm not getting the matches. And finally,
I was happy to see him win, and it was cool to see him like put on the persona, because again, it is what it is. In today's world, where there's so much like stuff coming out, if you don't do something to make yourself stand out in some way, shape, or form, you're going to get overlooked. Now, you can do that in other ways. You don't have to go the route of being like controversial and polarizing, but it's one of the easiest ways to do it. It's one of the ways where you can just click a finger. I can make a silly post or some post that I know it's going to piss you guys off, and everybody's going to be arguing, and it'll get attention, opposed to doing some of the more longer routes. So I don't really think it's a bad thing. The thing with Gordon is, I don't know how he is all the time, but I've seen him in several tournaments with people, with fans and stuff like that, and he was always very like courteous to them. He would take pictures with them. It wasn't like, get away from me, I'm the king or whatever. There was nothing like that. He was like, yeah, no, let's take a picture, whatever, it's fine, no problem. So it to me seems like it's it's an exaggerated persona. It's obviously him, but it's sort of like him turned up a little bit, right? Yeah. So again, I don't really care. It doesn't bother me. I don't really pay attention to it. But I think it's getting more eyeballs on the sport. So I think that's a good thing, because the more it is, the better. And just the nature of, especially in America, like we like entertainment. So
yeah, no, I agree. Like, look how he was at the face-off with Jacob.
Yeah,
they were chill. They were great. There's not really animosity there. It's going to be fun to watch. But like I think that he doesn't seem like, even if there is some trash talk, I think with a few exceptions, like he's usually pretty respectful afterwards. He gives people their, he gives them props, gives them their due. There was a really good dad joke, Chewy, you might like. I got to find it. Let me find the dad joke real fast. We'll end on that. It's always good to add. I think, let's see. I wanted to find it. Something about a belt. Darn it, where was it? We've like been chatting, and there's been a ton of questions since then.
Yeah, I think probably what I'm going to do is later on, I'm going to have my assistant go through here and like pull out some of these questions, because there's some really good ones.
Yeah, you guys, y'all brought the questions today. Question game was strong.
What do you call a belt made of clocks?
There you go. There it is.
A waste of time.
I'm gonna get my sound effects ready. That's the evolution of the podcast. I have all my sound effects.
We need to go straight like old talk show radio thing, where we have like sound effects where you press the buttons.
What's going on, guys? Oh, that's me. Hold on. There's some. Hold on. There's something. There it is.
Okay, so here, let's do dad joke.
Hear it?
No, hold on. Let's do a dad joke real quick, and
let's see what these other ones are.
We got crickets.
Will you like these? All right, this is the one you want.
Okay, here we go.
All right, let's do it.
So recently, I sent my hearing aid for repairs for 2 weeks. I'm sure that went up.
Oh,
I sent my hearing aid for repair 2 weeks ago. Haven't heard anything since. Also, did you know about the? Did you hear about like Chris? Remember the guy from the gym, Chris? Did you hear about that he got robbed the other day? No, he got robbed. No, he got robbed. So he was at the gas station. He was at the gas station.
Yep.
And he like got robbed like by he got robbed. So he calls the cops. When he's done, like his hands are done shaking. The cops say like, who robbed you? He's like, oh, the pump 3. I'm terrible. Oh, stop it! Pull me away.
He loves it.
Anyway,
guys, thank you guys so much for joining us. We appreciate it. Episode 200. It's a wrap.
Thank you guys for being here on this arbitrary number 200, and we'll